Go. Okay, I'm just going to start recording now. Yeah.
Hello, testing. Can? Good evening, workers of Singapore!
Oh!
What does it mean to be Singaporean? When I tried looking for the answer to this question, I found it in this quote. If it's dark when you leave your house for work, and it's dark by the time you get back, you're probably a Singaporean. This post by Wake Up Singapore was liked and shared by thousands of people. Workers in Singapore work the longest hours in the world. It is therefore no surprise we also get the least sleep. Whether you're a citizen, a migrant worker, a junior doctor, or a bus driver, most of us who work on this land in Singapore are bound by our culture to work very hard. Hustle culture.
Oh! Wow.
But how did this happen? Who among us had a say in letting hustle culture define us as who we are as Singaporeans? Let me pose a question to you guys. What requires to, number one, obey someone's commands without question? 2, wear the same clothes as everyone else? And 3, be punished for doing random things that don't hurt anyone at all? Any guesses?
No.
The answer is our jobs.
Oh!
This is true of most jobs all around the world. Our workplaces function very much like a dictatorship. We do everything the boss says. They make up a huge part of our time each day, and we accept it as normal. Just like there are good and bad dictators, there are also good and bad bosses. But the point is, as workers, we very often don't have a say in how much we are paid, what work we do, how best to do it, and under what kinds of work conditions.
Yeah.
In my research, I find that the worst bosses are usually the ultra-rich. They may treat the higher paid staff well, buy a lot of advertisements to make them look really good, but if you look really closely, they will cut corners with workers further down the value chain. Is that right?
No!
But also, even outside the workplace, there are so many restrictions to people speaking up about what they want. Even one person can be considered a public assembly. Just look at this park. Although we think that it's a free park, there are so many regulations, right? Some people can't be in this park and some people can be in this park. When we combine our undemocratic political system with our totalitarian workplaces, it becomes crystal clear why being Singaporean means working ourselves to death, doesn't it?
Yeah!
Chick Era brought up how the rental flat community must constantly hustle to survive. That we must literally earn our ability to survive. There is no right to life for workers in Singapore. Stefan shared how healthcare workers are stuck with insufficient manpower to meet an ever-expanding supply of patients. Did you know that doctors can be made to work up to 100 hours a week with no overtime pay? This is both dangerous for the worker and the patient. Am I right?
Yeah!
And then Mr. Chua, he enlightened us about how our public transport system is reliant on overworked bus drivers. An extremely risky situation for both the driver and the passenger. And then Uncle Peter, he shares how the earnings of food delivery riders have been steadily decreasing despite the rising cost of living. This nudges riders to work even more to catch up with rising expenses. Isn't that right?
Yeah!
Finally, Swan shared in a fiery speech how many F&B bosses can be so cheapskate, pushing their workers to work very long hours on their feet and without pay. Is this the society we want?
No!
It is not by accident that hustle culture defines us. It is completely by design. When Uncle Peter is unwell, but still decides to ride his bike to do 5 trips on the app, tell me who profits?
The company!
His boss. When Swan, she decides to report to work, even though she has an MC, but simply couldn't find a replacement, who does it profit?
The boss!
That's right. When Stefan gets abused by a patient and there's no action taken, and he goes back into work again the next day, who does it profit?
The boss!
That's right. When Uncle Chua drives the bus for 4 hours overtime per week, unpaid, who does it profit?
The boss.
And who decides our employment contracts? Do we get a say? Who sets the law that guides our employment contracts? Who does it?
The government.
It is the ultra-rich and the ruling elite. Our culture to work hard till we drop dead is a result of a system designed by them to satisfy their greed but not our need. We would be foolish to leave it to the ultra-rich and powerful to decide what's good for us. Now, why was the GST introduced in 1994 and now in 2023 has increased to 8% and will increase again to 9% next year? This too right after the pandemic and at one of the highest inflation rates we've ever had in our history. They tell us that this is for our own good. Do we believe that?
No.
Do you believe it will stay at 9%?
No.
Exactly. It would be naive, idealistic to think so. Until now, there has been no proper wealth tax in Singapore. No capital gains tax. Estate duties were removed in 2008. Rent control was removed. Unemployment insurance was taken away. Government subsidized healthcare for migrant workers was also stripped away. Till now, we have no minimum wage in our country. Is that okay?
No.
The ultra-rich and the ruling elite have gradually redesigned this country to make it function as a playground for themselves, but the Hunger Games for the rest of us. The rich and powerful have a plan. They are not an East Coast plan by the way. They are very organized and efficient in attacking our rice bowls and spoiling our social safety nets. They push down our wages and push up the price of the goods they sell to increase their profit margins. They do so by hoarding more than 2 billion in Comcare and 5 billion in Medifund, while families wither away in devastating poverty and shun away from the hospital for financial reasons. Is that the society we want?
No.
As workers, our very livelihoods are at risk of being completely destroyed. The fact that good bosses exist means that it doesn't need to be this way. But can we rely on the boss?
No.
So what if I told you that we, the people, can fight back? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
But how do we fight back? Look no further than the speakers who came before me. It was only after Uncle Chua and the other bus drivers took SBS to court that the employment contracts for drivers changed for the better. It was only after Uncle Peter kept voicing out his frustrations with the platform's insurance policy that some changes were made. It was only after nurses started sharing their frustrations during the pandemic on social media that nurses were given a retention bonus. It was only after a Watson's worker blew the whistle about the inhumane practice of standing for long hours that there is now more public scrutiny on the company and this particular practice across the sector.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So it is only after workers come together to push back against unfair policies and practices by the ultra-rich and powerful that we can begin to change things.
Yeah.
All of you here today have taken a very significant step in standing up for what's right and pushing back against injustice. Now give yourselves a round of applause.
Oh.
You braved the rain, you're still here, you're still with your placards and you're still cheering. Well done. While the ultra-rich and powerful have money and the police, as workers, we have numbers. But the challenge is in getting us together in solidarity. And the ultra-rich and powerful have already planned ways to divide and rule us. And they're doing it already through race, through nationality, through income, through gender, through trade, through whether you're a good worker or you're a bad worker or whether you're just lazy. But we must never forget, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a cleaner, whether you're a tech worker, a construction worker, a lawyer, or a caregiver, we are all one working class.
Yeah.
Some people have asked why we wear red today. Because the blood we bleed is red. As workers, you have so much power. Nothing in this city works if you don't work. Why do you think the government makes it so difficult for you to legally go on strike? Why does the government make it so difficult for you to unionize independently? These laws aren't to protect us, but to protect their greed. Even so, as I mentioned, there remain many ways that workers can still come together to fight for what's right. Am I right?
Yeah.
This Labor Day, look to your left and look to your right. These are your people. Feel your strength in numbers. Labour has been asleep for far too long. It's time for us to wake up. reignite the soul of labor across this land. Power to the people. Repeat after me. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Thank you very much. Give it up for Full Fledged Monkeys.
Yeah.